And to get started, a bit of a background on myself. So I've been in this business for close to 9 years now, in the real estate business, investing in properties and helping my clients invest in properties. And I got started in the business as an entrepreneur through a bit of a unique way. When I was younger, so now quite a few years ago, when I was about 14, I read this book. And I'm sure many people on the call have read the same book, but it kind of changed my personal perspective, not only on finance and on money, but also on really work and life and what I wanted to do with my life. And one of the things that I kind of decided was that I wanted to be in charge. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted the freedom and the autonomy to do things when I wanted to do them, and to take a lot of time to really do to go out and explore the world and give back in some ways and work with people. And so what I decided quite early on is I wanted to be an entrepreneur, really do things myself. And a good wise old friend of mine, or a young friend of mine, Dave Steele's his name, told me to get into the haircutting business at one point in time, as a young chap. Needless to say, this business didn't quite work out. Have to do a lot of Brazilians for 5 cents to make enough money to buy an investment property. But so that didn't work for too long. It's a joke. Not people usually don't really laugh at that one, but I think it's funny. And after a short while, I discovered real estate. And real estate for me, while it's something that I do as a business, it's one aspect of the business that I do. It's also an investment for me, and more as I kind of get older and older, it becomes more and more important to me as an asset that I invest in, and I believe very strongly in it as an asset class to invest in. And I'm not alone in that. There's more and more people that are turning to real estate as the investment that they want to make. And the reason for that is a lot of the traditional forms of investment that have traditionally worked for people aren't working anymore. So going to your financial planner in the bank and buying the mutual funds that they put in front of you isn't really working as a viable way to invest your money. People aren't getting the results that they want. And this whole problem that we're having with the traditional forms of investment really goes back to what we call the good old days, the days when you would go out and get a job for a company and you'd work for that company for your whole life. And when you retired from that company, they would pay you a pension. And we call these days Freedom 55. So you'd go to school, you'd graduate, get a job, work till you're 55, and then when you retired, your company would pay you a pension. You didn't have to really worry at all about financial planning as we know it today. However, into the 90s, somehow something really strange happened. We got another 10 years of work added to our careers. So we no longer got to retire at 55. Now we get to retire at 65. And the corporations did something interesting during these intervening years. They, for the most part, got rid of the pension programs. And today, most companies out there do not have a pension program anymore. Unless, of course, you work for the government. The government still has a fairly decent pension program. And in getting rid of these pension programs, this kind of gave rise to what we now know today as the financial planner, and a whole series of products and services in what we know now as the financial services sector. And it's really here in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that the mutual fund, as we know it today, kind of got its birth. And again, of course, the financial planner who went out and sold these mutual funds to investors. And in the 80s and 90s, it was quite conceivable to make around somewhere between 8 and 10% on your mutual funds if you pick the right funds. So throughout your working career, you'd be able to save up about $1 million, invest that in a GIC at 5 to 6%, so you make $50,000 to $60,000 a year in income when you retired in the 90s, ideally, if you had planned right and done things right. Today, it's not the same situation. Today, we jokingly refer to it as Freedom 105. GIC rates are at all-time lows. They haven't been this low for a long time. And GIC rates being at all-time lows also means that interest rates are at all-time lows. Interest rates haven't been this low since the end of the Second World War. And what this really does, though, is it presents a really unique opportunity to go and invest in different types of asset classes. One of those being real estate. Because money is so cheap to borrow, it makes a lot of sense to borrow money to buy an asset like real estate. And to me, really presents what I call a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go out and take advantage of these low interest rates and acquire yourself some investment real estate. So needless to say, I didn't like the concept of Freedom 55, Freedom 65, and definitely not Freedom 105. I said to myself, you know, I'm going to go out and buy some real estate, and I'm going to have Freedom 25. And to a certain extent, I did that. I went out and bought a very small portfolio of properties in Alberta back in the early 2010s, and was making a very small amount of cash flow, passive income, if you will, off those properties, and decided Freedom 25 was it for me. I went to the Philippines and lived on a beach there for about a year. Spent a lot of time scuba diving and hanging out on the beach. It was a lot of fun. But I kind of learned a lesson, probably because I was 25. I learned a lesson that when you buy real estate and invest in real estate, it's not quite as simple as just buying the real estate and getting the cash flow checks every month. There's a bit of a business that you need to take care of, and there's some hassles that come along with that business. And I learned the hard way that you need to kind of keep an eye on those hassles, or you need to have a really good team of people in place to take care of the hassles for you. So I was actually cruising around the temples of Cambodia, and I got a call from the Calgary Police Department saying that they had a warrant to break down the door of my house and asking if I had a key because they didn't really want to break the door down. But of course I was in Cambodia, so I didn't, and I told them go ahead, and this is effectively what I came home to. So again, the wrong way to avoid the hassles of investing in real estate. Essentially I made probably every single mistake that you could make when first buying real estate, as far as how to incorrectly acquire and manage the property. The fortunate thing that saved me, though, was I bought the property in a good market. And because I bought the property in a good market that was appreciating very well, I actually was able to repair the property, sell the property, and still make a very good return on the property, even though I had probably made every single mistake you could possibly make. So the lesson that I learned there was don't avoid the hassles incorrectly. Make sure you get a good, either make sure you're going to be in town to look after the property yourself, or have a very good team of people and a system in place to manage the property. But also, I learned the lesson of why it's so important to buy in a good market, and buy in a market that is appreciating, where not only are you going to be able to cover some mistakes that you might make, but you're going to make good money on your investment. So it was around this time that I was coming back from the Philippines that I was chatting with Dave, and he was talking about what they were doing up in Northeast BC. And we put together a program where really our mission is to help clients create wealth through well-selected real estate, but also to make a difference in the world. And really, we put this program together. I got involved in putting this program together because I wanted to continue to buy real estate myself. I wanted to go out and continue to grow my portfolio, but I didn't want to have to deal with this. And so what we've really done at Western Canadian Properties Group is put a program together where you can buy real estate. You can go off and travel to places and spend time on beaches or do whatever it is that you like doing to make a difference in the world, and not have to worry about your real estate portfolio falling apart like this. You can have the peace of mind to know that there's an excellent group of people and team and systems in place that are looking after that asset for you. And that's really what we've put together with Western Canadian Properties Group. And I love it because it allows me to go out and do stuff like this. This is a trip I ran to the Philippines last year, back to the area where I lived, took people around. We went to sustenance-only fishing villages, went and spent some time camping on the beach, doing some scuba diving, and it was a really great trip. And I absolutely love to do this stuff. Get back to basics, I call it, and go on an adventure. The only reason I'm able to do that is because I can go away and rest easy, knowing that I'm not going to come home to this, because we have a really great team of people that are looking after the properties. So our vision is to make the process of buying investment real estate simple, easy, and attainable for every level of investor. So we have investors that, this is their 50th property that they've bought that they're buying with us, and we have investors that it's their first property they're buying with us. So, we don't discriminate there. We like to work with all levels of investors.